In the world of Skyrim, the very first time you visit the city of Markarth, you witness a woman get brutally murdered in broad daylight. And she is dead. She is not moving. I even checked her pulse. Naturally, that probably gives the impression that this might not be the best place to settle down. In fact, it's gotta be one of the worst places to live. Which then really got me thinking, where is the worst place to live in Skyrim? To figure that out, we'll need to look at a few key things for each city. Like not only how dangerous it is within the walls, but also on the outskirts of the city as well. And we'll also take a look at how freezing and unforgiving the environment can be. And one last thing before we start, I won't be including any of the bandit camps or the dangerous caves. This will strictly just be the major cities of Skyrim. So with all that said, let's go to our first city. Oh yeah, that was pretty cool. The city of Riften, which is located in the southeastern corner of Skyrim. And I have to say, I like Riften. It sits on a beautiful lake, surrounded by cozy dockside homes, and it actually has walls that makes the whole place feel kind of safe and peaceful. At least until you realize that in Riften, it's not about worrying what's on the outside, it's about what's on the inside. If you don't know, Riften has one of the highest crime rates in all of Skyrim. Everywhere you look, there's some type of scam or extortion or just some shady deal that's happening right out in the open. You even have to pay an entrance fee just to get through the front gate. Let's see, do you take debit? And most of that criminal activity is thanks to a secret organization called the Thieves Guild. They're a group of thieves that live here in the sewers underneath Riften. And they basically run the streets here, doing their scamming and pickpocketing and their mandatory protection service to all the vendors. And by protection, they mean paying the guild so no one else gets the chance to rob you. Which sounds like they're robbing you, but with extra steps. And if you refuse to pay for their mandatory protection service, they will beat the shit out of you. Like this guy. But on the bright side, the guild does have a strict rule against killing. Usually. And unfortunately, your worries don't end just with the Thieves Guild. Like I said earlier, there's a sewer system called the Ratway underneath Riften. And the thieves are not the only danger lurking down here. And if you venture too far in, you'll likely find a pack of bandits that aren't as polite about the no killing rule. Meaning they'll kill you. But the real threat actually doesn't come from the sewers. It comes from above. Because while the Jarl might wear the crown and thinks she runs the city, the one who truly runs Riften is a lady named Maven Blackbriar. And she is the matriarch of the Blackbriar family and can basically pay anyone to do anything for her, including the guards. She's not only got ties to the Thieves Guild, but also the Dark Brotherhood, meaning if you ever get on her bad side, you're gonna die. So with all that said, this place doesn't seem that bad to live, especially considering some of the other places we're gonna visit. This one doesn't seem nowhere near as dangerous. All you really have to do is just mind your own business, don't go to the sewers, pay the guild what you owe, and probably the most important part, do not upset Maven. Do all that and you'll live. Maybe. I'll give Riften a 2 out of 5 for not that bad. Next up is the city of Morthal. That's tucked away all the way right here in the middle of a swamp. It's surrounded by bugs, some mud, and a lot of monsters. There's a lot of weird noises at night here. And for all the different types of threats surrounding this town, you would think that they would have some walls around here, but they don't have walls around here. Just down the road here are some frostbite spiders that roam the path, and they will have no problem trying to kill you. And just west of town, there is a fort filled with necromancers and skeletons. Very deadly here. And just east of that is a vampire cave filled with vampires. Vampires kill you. And of course, the classic mud crabs that wander almost every inch of the swamp. And if you think that is bad, boy, we haven't even gotten to the worst of it. When you first enter Morthal, one second. Sorry. You'll realize that there's a bit of commotion going on between the locals here. But just within a matter of seconds, you'll overhear that a man named Hroger burned down his own house along with his wife and daughter inside, which means that they are dead and the house died too. And that very same day, he moves in with another woman called Alva. But it turns out Alva's not just a woman, she's a vampire woman. And she was behind the whole fire incident. And she works for another vampire called Movarth. And they all live in this vampire cave. Remember the one I mentioned earlier? And she's been using Hroger to help enslave the people of Morthal without them even knowing, turning pretty much everyone into a steady supply of blood that protects the vampires from sunlight. Assuming that in this scenario, the Dragonborn never comes to save the town. So yeah, this does not sound like a good time. But there are some nice appeals here. Like you can do some fishing in the river, and you got this nice inn, you know, it's cozy. Yeah. Who am I kidding? I'd probably be dead in a week here. I think it's fair to say it would suck to live in Morthal. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 skulls. You will die. Next up on the list is Winterhold, a city that's located near the northern shore and arguably the coldest city in all of Skyrim. Now in terms of enemies and danger, there isn't anything particularly threatening here, but that doesn't mean it wouldn't absolutely suck to live here. You may notice that Winterhold doesn't really have much going on here. It barely has 4 buildings standing, plus the massive mage college that looms over the cliffside, and that's about it. At one point, this was a big, thriving city, rivaling places as big as Solitude, until a huge storm called the Great Collapse struck the city and caused most of it to fall into the sea. And this is pretty much all that's left, just kind of a ghost town. Plus, there's a baby civil war going on between the locals and the mages. The locals think that the mages caused the Great Collapse with their spooky magic, while the mages think it was an eruption from a volcano years ago called the Red Mountain. And till this day, the tension still arises because no one really knows what did cause it. Another thing you'll notice as you approach Winterhold is that this place also doesn't have any walls, which I can't help but think that these types of places are just begging to be attacked by a dragon, which would be bad, because you would die. But for any dangers that were on the outskirts of the town, there were some wolves and maybe like 1 or 2 yetis, but other than that, there's not much of any threats out here. One thing I do want to mention real quick if you do decide to move down here, there is very little work to do in this town. Out of the 4 buildings here, you have the Jarl's Longhouse, the inn, a shop, and some dude's house. There is, however, a mine down the road going south here that's not too far, but there is some wolves down there, so you'd probably die just trying to get to your job. So with that said, there's very little opportunities here to make a living. And much worse than that, there's not even a place to live. And I know I'm kind of avoiding the elephant in the room, right? Why not just stay at the mage college? But to even get inside the college, you have to be able to demonstrate that you can cast magic. Meaning for an old typical NPC, you're kind of screwed. Overall, I think this one's weird to rate because there's not anything really dangerous here. It would just be difficult trying to make a living and stay warm in this town. I'll give Winterhold a 3 out of 5. Next up is the oldest city in all of Skyrim, Windhelm. And oh man, we got a lot to unpack here. Windhelm is one of those cities that you walk into and just immediately think, damn, how do people even live in here? I mean, it's just so miserable and cold and miserable. The architecture here in Windhelm is almost entirely made out of stone, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, that's great for defense, but not so great for the appeal here. It gives the entire city this permanent gray and gloomy vibe. And since Windhelm is so ancient, a lot of these buildings are cracked and crumbling, with rubble just scattered everywhere. And of course, none of this is helped by the fact that it is freezing here. I cannot feel my fingers right now. And even some of the design choices in this city were pretty questionable. Like, who's in charge of this cemetery right here? They just be putting these graves anywhere. They put poor old Jimmy in the middle of the road. He's just getting stepped on every day. And if that wasn't depressing enough, there's even a little girl that's an orphan that sleeps on the cold rock by herself at night. I honestly don't know how she's still alive though, because all she's wearing is a long sleeve and a dress. But you know what? She is a Nord, so she probably has that frost resistant buffs that Nords have. And speaking of orphans, there's another one that lives in this house. And he lost his mother because she got sick from the cold around here. And now it would appear that he is performing something called the Black Sacrament, which is just not good. That means he's trying to kill someone. Hey, stop that, kid. Don't do that. That's bad. I don't think he's gonna listen to me. As for the threats that are outside of Windhelm, honestly, it's not much. The city has massive stone walls that can block any intruders that try to come in. And not to mention, this is also the Stormcloaks stronghold, where you know, the leader of the Stormcloaks lives. So even if a few bandits or vampires get through the walls, they still have a whole army to worry about. However, we do have another one of those situations where it's not about what's outside the walls, it's about what's inside. The very first time you enter Windhelm, you'll hear some rumors from the locals talking about a serial killer called the Butcher. A guy who's been targeting women at night and then killing them. So if you're a woman and you decide to move into Windhelm, I'm sorry. And to make things worse, the Nords here are, how should I say this? They're racist. They're pretty openly racist. The Dark Elves that live here are just crammed into a rundown corner of the city, and the Argonians aren't even allowed inside the city. They have to live out here on the docks, where it's freezing. So if you're a male Nord living here, you probably don't really have to worry about much. But for most people, yeah, it's a rough place to call home. I'll give Windhelm a 4 out of 5. Next up on the list is Dawnstar, which is also one of the coldest major cities and located on the northern edge of Skyrim. It's also known for its rich mineral mines and the harbor that cuts right through the center of town. And the first thing I noticed when I arrived here is everyone's so damn grumpy. It's almost like no one gets any sleep around here. And it turns out no one does get any sleep around here. You see, there's a temple called the Nightcaller Temple that stands up right at the top of that mountain. You see it? It's a temple. And inside is the source of a nightmare curse that prevents any citizen in Dawnstar from getting a good night's rest. Now, in a normal playthrough of Skyrim, the Dragonborn could just come by and destroy the curse and save the people of Dawnstar. But remember, in this scenario, we're not the Dragonborn. We're just a plain old NPC living our normal life. And not only are you stuck in this sleepless, nightmare-infested town, but your neighbor is also a mythic Dawn fanatic who won't shut up about a Daedra prince that almost destroyed the world years ago. Oh yeah, and half the town is at each other's throats because no one can agree on which side to support in the Civil War. On top of that, Dawnstar has no city walls, so any of the nearby bandits, ice wraiths, or the yetis can just stroll right in. The lack of defenses here also make it a prime target for dragons. Oh no, there's one right now. If only we had some walls. And just to top it all off, there's a secret entrance to the Dark Brotherhood that's just right down the road. Although I'm not sure how much that matters, considering if the Dark Brotherhood wants you dead, they will find you no matter where you are in Skyrim. And another big factor that would suck to live here is the cold. Like I mentioned, Dawnstar is one of the coldest places, so it's just as cold as places like Windhelm and Winterhold. So dying from the cold like that little boy's mother back in Windhelm wouldn't be any different here. But on a good note, there is some fish up here, so if you like going on boats and fishing, hey, maybe not so bad. Definitely a lot more cons than pros here, with the biggest one being that you're never gonna get any sleep around here. I'll give Dawnstar a 4. Lastly, we have the city of Markarth, which is located on the western side of Skyrim. And oh my goodness, I don't even know where to begin on this one. At first glance, this place might actually look somewhat nice and very protective with the giant Dwemer walls and the architecture. The waterfalls make it pleasant and lively until we go inside, because this is that same spot where that woman got brutally murdered. And yup, she's still dead. But there is some good news here. She did get murdered for a reason. You see, she was actually an Imperial spy that got murdered by a Forsworn spy. And there is a little bit of lore here. You see, about 20 years ago, Markarth was taken over by a group known as the Forsworn, who are the original natives in the Reach region in Skyrim. But then, the almighty Ulfric Stormcloak led an army of Nords to come and take it back by force, slaughtering most of the Forsworn there and scattering the survivors. So now the survivors hide out in the camps across the Reach, while others rot in the mines, and a few still walk the city in Markarth waiting for their next target. And unfortunately, this is just the beginning of all the dangers that lurk here in Markarth. For starters, the city is for the most part owned by the Silverblood family, a powerful and corrupted clan that pretty much controls everything here, from the guards all the way to the Sidna mine that's also a prison. And if you ever get on the Silverblood's bad side, they'll probably just end up throwing you here in the mine for the rest of your life, just like the Forsworn. And speaking of misfortune, if you are one of the unlucky few that moves to Markarth, you better be very careful about which house you move into, because one of them just happens to be cursed by the Daedric god of domination. And not only will he trick you and murder you once you enter, but he'll also capture and enslave your soul for all eternity. And once he claims you, death isn't the end. It's only the beginning of his unending torment and domination. So yeah, it's probably best if we don't go in there. Let's go over here. But once you do find the right fit for you here in Markarth, there still might be a couple things you have to worry about, like questioning if your neighbors are gonna kidnap you and eat you at night. And yeah, this is a thing apparently. Some of the locals here are cannibals, and they'll try to lure you to their dungeon at night so they can all gang up on you and do cannibal things. And you wouldn't even know it, man. You wouldn't even know it. They fooled me. I mean, even one of the members here runs this shop that looks totally normal, that she inherited from her husband that was killed from a Forsworn attack. And apparently the body was never found. Okay, so you've managed to survive the corrupted nobility and the hungry cannibals and the crazy Daedric prince. Maybe it's not so bad, right? Well, this next part isn't something necessarily you'll have to worry about in your day-to-day, but it is pretty scary knowing that it exists. Everything that I've mentioned so far is what lies upon the surface of Markarth, because directly beneath this is something far more dangerous. The ancient Dwemer ruins of Nishwanzil. This massive crumbling city is just crawling with spiders, Falmer, and of course the Dwemer constructs. And they will all have no hesitation killing you on sight. And the only thing standing between this underground nightmare and the people of Markarth is just this door right here. Actually, there's another door after this one, so I guess that's 2 doors. Okay, there's 2 doors, but still, 2 doors, you know? They knock one down, boom, there's only one left. And what's gonna stop them from knocking down that door? Really, there's 0 doors, if you think about it. And on top of all of that, the most dangerous spot here in Markarth is right here. I mean, seriously, imagine if you were just walking right here and you fall over this ledge. That's like a 40-foot drop you would have to look out for every single day. If you're going to work in the morning or you're coming home, yeah, I'd give myself 2 days tops before I get myself killed here. I give Markarth a 5 out of 5. I would not recommend living here. And there you go, these are the worst places to live in Skyrim, in my opinion. As for the other cities like Whiterun and Solitude, I don't think they really deserve a spot on this list, considering they're just nowhere near as bad as these. And I was gonna put Falkreath on this list, but I always liked visiting Falkreath on my playthroughs. I mean, if you visit at the right time of the day, it just seems like a nice, cozy place. And yeah, there was an incident where a little girl got shredded to pieces by a werewolf, but this place still looks good, you know? It's cozy. Okay, maybe it's a little depressing. All right, fine, I'll give it a 1. So there you go. If you're ever in the area and you're looking for a nice place to settle, you'll know to avoid these places. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this one. Thank you guys for watching like always, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.